They say that as many as 85% of all people are dissatisfied with their jobs. In addition, almost 60% say they want to make a change in the near future, and about 40% are already looking for where they're going to make that next move to. Okay. Though we know there's a handful of the most common reasons that people are dissatisfied with their work, there's one thing that always remains the same no matter where you work, who you work for, or who you work with, and that's you. If you truly want to be satisfied with your work or with any other part of life, it has to start with you. And that's what we're going to dig into on today's Life Design podcast. So be sure to join us and to subscribe and engage for your chance to be a guest on the show. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe now so you can join us on every episode. We truly appreciate it. And be sure to engage in the comments section of your favorite platform for your chance to be invited as a guest on one of our episodes. Welcome back to the Life Design Podcast. I'm Michael Borland, your host. And as I said, today we're going to be digging into those that are unhappy with their work and where that shift, where that change truly does need to begin. And I know in my life of coaching and in business, I work with hundreds of clients who are dissatisfied with their jobs, with their industries, or even with their own businesses. Now, I've found this sentiment to be on the rise in the last few years, and there's a lot of proof of that in my industry, the coaching industry, as there's been just a huge explosion in the number of business coaches or career coaches. And in all honesty, for the most part, the majority of these people are advisors, they're consultants, they're recruiters, and, they use the term coach because it's a popular industry now, and that's fine. But something that I recognize is that the methods that they use, they clearly help a number of people. Okay, they look at things like identifying what you want in your next job, trying to help clients align with their passions or their interests. They also, of course, look at things like how to write a better resume, how to interview better, or what questions to expect, and how to best answer those questions. And some of them get as refined as focusing on very specific industries or even very specific companies. I know that for many years that has legitimately been kind of the pinnacle or the foundation, I guess, depending upon how you look at it, of what you do when you're looking for that job change or that career shift, and especially in the higher end, more elite, industries or certain titles and such. For some, it's even when they want to launch into a different type of endeavor, such as, starting a business. They'll go to a business coach, or what I would call a business consultant and advisor, and get that kind of help. Unfortunately, what I have seen a lot of, especially in the last 5 years, maybe a little longer, is that a lot of the people that I come across, and quite frankly, literally thousands of people that I've just spoken with over the years, that we've had conversations, and a lot of these people wound up at this next job, and they were still dissatisfied. And I think a lot of you can probably relate to that. I want to share this with you, and please hear this. Okay? There's a different way to go about it. And hear this also. What I'm going to share with you, this is not my creation, so to speak. This is information that I've gathered over many, many years talking to many, many people. And it's something that the clients that I have worked with and where we've tested this, the ones that chose this different route, they've seen literally unbelievable levels of success in doing so. The majority even chose, and this is my personal experience, I say 75, 80%, maybe even more, they actually chose not to leave their current position or situation. And this is in a lot of different areas. We're speaking specifically career today, career in business, but this is in relationships. This is in any avenue. They actually wound up staying, and they were glad they did. So to explain what I'm referencing or what I'm talking about here, let me start by asking you a couple of questions, 2 specific questions. Number 1, if you're dissatisfied with your job at this point in time, okay, and you're thinking about making a change, my first question to you is, whatever you did prior to your current job, so the job prior to the one you're thinking about leaving now, were you satisfied at that job? For the most part, people have answered no to that question. What about you? If you were satisfied, I would actually be curious as to why you're no longer there. So share in the comments. Second question, though. Second question is, did you take the job that you are currently at with the expectation that you'd be happy there? Or was this potentially intended to be like a temporary stepping stone? Now let's get real. We've all heard this. A lot of people take a job that they expect to be temporary, and they wind up happy. They wind up staying there. Sometimes they wind up in a situation where they have no choice to stay there, even though they're not happy. Both of those are not uncommon. But I ask because our expectations for any experience that we engage in have an extremely strong effect on the way we perceive that experience. Okay? And here's the part that we really need to pay attention to. And that is that the one thing, and I said this a moment ago in the introduction, the one thing that doesn't change, regardless of where you work, what you do for a living, what income level you're at, what you earn, is that you are always you. You're the one thing that is always there, no matter what relationship you're in, what job you're at, what your situation is. And what I found with this situation being fact is the reason so many people that work with, these consultants, advisors, career or business coaches, and they still wind up dissatisfied with where they land. And it may be 6 months into the future. It may be 6 years into the future. But the reason this is still the fact, in the end, they still wind up dissatisfied, is because they focused on everything outside of themselves. They didn't go from heart to head level. They focused on everything outside. The title, the pay, the location of the job, the industry. All the while, the one thing that they had complete control over was themselves. And yet, they spent very little time, very little effort working on themselves. All the focus, all the effort was on something, for the most part, outside of their control. So when we acknowledge that our mindset and our perspectives dictate not just the way we relate to other people, to our culture, but it dictates how we relate to our job, to the title that we have, to everything that's associated to that work and that work environment. For that matter, for anything in life. So when you work on those things, meaning the mindset and perspectives, when we work on our mindset and our perspectives, when we improve our mindset and our perspectives, we actually create the best possible us. Right? Are you with me here? When we make improvements to ourselves and we become a better person, we take that improvement with us everywhere we go, in every situation, We make everything in life better because we are better. I'm probably being generous, but I would say 80% of the people that I've spoken with, whether I work with them or just spoke with them in conversation, that chose to go this route and actually work on themselves as opposed to everything else first. They became self-aware. They worked on their self-improvement as a method of preparing for that career change, whatever, life transition, but specific career change. I'm being generous. It's probably higher, but I'm going to say 80% wound up successful. Okay? Many of them stayed where they were at. They stayed in those relationships, in those jobs. The ones who did change jobs, I can only speak for me on this. I don't know of a single one of them that weren't drastically more satisfied, ultimately more successful. And a lot of them, they even took pay cuts to move to a different position, and yet they were still more satisfied. They didn't go out necessarily and learn new skills. They looked inward for new skill sets, and they wound up more satisfied because of it. The reason why they wound up with results of being more successful and more satisfied is because they worked on themselves. They took this new position with appropriate expectations. They carried the culture or the atmosphere that they wanted at work. They carried it there within themselves. Okay, instead of looking outside for everyone else that they work with to create this energy, this feeling at work, they actually brought it with them into that new position, into those new relationships. And by relationships, I'm referring to coworker type relationships. But it's the same thing in intimate relationships. But these clients, they went into these new work relationships with self-esteem, with confidence, with assertiveness. Notice I said assertiveness, not aggressiveness. Right? They went there with the ability to speak up respectfully, confidently, professionally, when it was necessary. So why am I sharing this with you? What is the whole point of this being the message, the topic for today's podcast? Because if you are dissatisfied or unhappy with the job or the career, for that matter, again, anything in life, my challenge for you, my encouragement for you, is to start the process of change or transition or transformation, whatever level you want to make it. Start it within yourself. Okay, work on you first. When you become fully aware, when you maximize who you are, what you want, when you get total clarity on what you want and what you offer, okay, what value you bring to the table, you take that with you anywhere you go. If you don't have that self-esteem, that confidence, that energy about you, it doesn't really matter where you go, because you're still going to have those same expectations. You're still going to bring that same energy to that new situation with yourself. But if you work on you first, you actually attract the type of situations, you attract the type of people into your life, into your experience that you want for yourself, that you want to be around because of who you are. You know this is true. You've had someone that's been a friend or that you've worked with or you've engaged with in some setting that you just felt attracted to. And I don't mean physically attracted. I mean, there was something special about that person that you wanted to be around them. And if we work on ourselves first, and then we engage, then we go into this new experience, this new job, this whatever it is that's new for us, this new career, this new industry, we are the person that people want to be around because we've taken the time to work on ourselves. So my challenge, my encouragement to you is for you to work on you, for you to be that person that other people want to be around. Honestly, that's what I have for you today. In a week or two, I actually want to come back and revisit this. I want to revisit it with a professional who came from the recruiting industry. I'm in talks with a couple of them right now to see who we're going to bring on. But if that's you, if you were in the industry, if you relate to what I'm talking about, if you have gone to a new job with the expectation you were going to like it, and it didn't work out because what you did was you worked on those outside things. You learned how to make the better resume. You learned how to interview better. You learned some new skill to go get that job. And then you turned out not being happy. Share in the comments. Help us understand from your perspective what it was, what you went through. It doesn't have to be long. Just make some bullet points. Share it with us. Inspire someone today with that message, with that share, that information. So I do want to say I thank you for participating or for listening in, participating. Well, I do. If you commented, then thank you in advance. Again, I'm asking for you to engage in the comments. Go ahead and subscribe or follow us or whatever it is on the platform you listen to. And just engage. I'd love to have some of you come as guests on the show. I'd love to have you share this message with other people. If you like what you hear on the podcast, chances are you will like one of the books that I have out right now. My first one being Improve Your Thoughts, Improve Your Life. It's available on Amazon. The second book, which will be out from the day I'm recording this within the month, or within about a month and a half. But I don't know when you're listening to this, so that's called Rewire Your Mind. And those books are intended to help you with these types of mindsets and processes, and to really give you the meat and potatoes of not just what you can look into, but how to actually make it happen, how to implement these things with simplicity. Okay, one of the upcoming podcasts is really going to get into the conversation of why we make things so difficult, when in reality, we can make our life a whole lot more simple than we do make it. So, again, I hope you got something from this podcast. Please share in the comments or in the question that's attached to this podcast in the description or such, what you took from it, what stood out to you the most. And let us know what you want to talk about. And we will probably do so. And we might even have you be the guest on that podcast if you come up with something that's kind of unique. So I look forward to sharing more with you. I look forward to meeting many of you. And until then, live awesome and enjoy your journey.